Now to the JoyNews Tracker now, and the people of Odododiodoo constituency in the Greater Accra region are yearning for infrastructure that will speed up socio-economic development. Residents say they feel left out. The constituency has many terrible public schools that need urgent attention. For example, the Ayalolo cluster of schools is in a terrible shape. In this edition of JoyNews Tracker, residents are appealing to government to complete many infrastructural projects.
I got myself to blame. You got yourself to blame too, baby. I got myself to blame.
The windows are broken. We don't have good desks. We don't have textbooks and many other things.
Most of the black people have been miseducated.
Richmond Nyako is 12 years. Lately, his interest in attending school is waning because of the poor state of his school. Richmond School Central Mosque is located in one of the clusters of schools in Ayalolo. The schools here have not seen any renovation for many years. They are falling apart. The roofs, walls, windows, and even pillars are falling apart.
You got yourself to blame too, baby.
Richmond fears his school may collapse and harm them.
I don't like the desks, the roofing and the windows because it is not good. It can hurt someone.
The zingers and the woods and the tables and the cupboards break. I want to tell Nana Kufar, say you back, you come and do our tables for us, and the chairs, and the woods, and the zingers.
In this school are children from Jamestown, Agbogboloshi, Bukum, and its environs. This new structure was an attempt to modernize the schools here. Unfortunately, the structure has stalled for many years. There is little motivation for children to come to school.
We don't have textbooks and many other things. It is only ourselves who have some.
There are more than 1,000 students in this cluster of schools, but the children have access to a 10-seater toilet facility. The Coastal Development Authority found it prudent to build another toilet facility for the students. This project was funded under the One Constituency $1 million program.
Where were these 3 toilet facilities built?
Ayalolo cluster, like your footage showed.
Unfortunately, the construction of the toilet facility that started in 2019 has not been completed. The pupils say, although the toilet facility has not been completed, they have started using it already. So the children defecate on the concrete floors. They are pleading with government to do something quickly.
Toilet ya schools newa no edoso ba toilet ba kupenewa tiesiro omo say omo mama aye fast amai.
JoyNews contacted the Coastal Development Authority for an interview on why the toilet facility has not been completed. The authority is yet to respond. In the same constituency is the Accra Sempe Basic School. The school was torn down and a temporary school was constructed 6 years ago. Construction of the school started in 2016 and completion was slated for 2018. But to date, the school has not been completed. The landlord of the property where the temporary school has been sited is threatening to evict them. In 2019, residents pleaded with government to facilitate the speedy completion of the project. It is April 2022 and the same project remains uncompleted. Residents make another passionate appeal.
Government eba cha school no. Eba cha school no ko ni ma bia ni nyen show na. Ma bia ni nyen keke. Gbogbo nsigbeke bia ni nyen keke na mo ba wo ni. Oh. Eba cha no e ke ba ma ba na ba ma. Akeka fe politics. Aka school fe politics.
I wanna let you know I got myself to blame.
The people of Odododiodoo yearn for government to fulfill promises made to them.
Ladies, wake up.
Now, joining us live with more on this is local government expert Kwesi Bani. Chief, good morning and thanks very much for agreeing to speak to us. What do you make of the instance where government would allow infrastructure projects to go, bad in areas in Ghana when, of course, we could complete them for people to use?
Well, good morning, Kojo. When one sees situations of this nature, one can but only acknowledge the challenges that we have as a nation. And if we have such a structure in the center of the capital nation, then one can imagine what the situations might be in other very deprived rural communities. Children in Accra are presumed to be of a certain privileged standard. But when you see such structures, then you ask yourself whether they are any better than those in the rural area. The district assemblies have a basic responsibility when it comes to basic school constructions and renovations and maintenance. But if you look at the structure of this school in Odododiodoo, and it tells you that decades upon decades, not that much has been done about them. And it's such a sad situation that we cannot start a project and complete them. Even the one that is supposed by your own account to have begun in 2016. How many years now? 6 years down the line, it has not been completed. And that's a very sad situation. The assembly responsible in that jurisdiction can't do everything within a certain period of time. But at least whatever the assembly begins, they must try as much as possible to complete before they tackle another one. But it has been a very bad situation for us as leaders in this country to attempt to do so many things at the same time when the resources are not even available to tackle or complete all those things at the same time. And for me, that's a very sad account of how we either manage or mismanage public funds.
So if every resources cannot tackle anything, what is the challenge in assemblies ensuring that they have certain critical infrastructures that are completed for their people? What is the challenge?
Well, the other side of it, also that for now, the major source of revenue for this assembly are also this assembly's common fund, which has been guided and guarded by the Constitution. And is that the central government's responsibility to also release those monies at least quarterly to the assembly. So when you hear stories about 3 quarters or even a year of release being in arrears, then you put the assemblies also in a situation where they don't have the funding to do anything or to address some of the critical issues. Because we know in the urban centers, if the assemblies want to work very hard, then they are internally generated revenues to support them in some of these activities. But when you have a situation where those things, the government, central government commitment through the local, this assembly common fund are not being released, then you put them into a very bad situation. In the case in question, if it began in 2016, then we cannot say that between 2016 and now, no disassembly common fund had been released to the district. But if indeed they have been released, much of it have been released to the assembly, and they have not been able to complete a project begun in 2016, then the managers of the assembly themselves have a number of questions to ask them. So you don't start a project, abandon it midstream, and go and start another project elsewhere, no matter how important that project might also be. So that for me is unsavory.
Well, we should probably also bring in the role of the development authorities, because we know when the development authorities were brought up, they sort of came in to provide solutions to some of these infrastructure deficits. How do you think they've done over the years? Because there are projects that they've started. This one, for example, we are told they have a hand in it. How have they performed over the years in terms of helping assemblies deal with infrastructure deficit?
Well, apart from the Disassembly Common Fund, which is constitutionally mandated, and the internal general revenues from the assembly source, there are always external interventions to support the assembly. But the issue is, no matter where those sources of funding coming from, once they set their eye on a project, they must complete. Because whether it is the development authority or whatever institution was funding this project began it and abandoned it midway, it does not make sense to me. Once you begin a project, if it means forgetting about all others and completing it, you complete it, and then you can say that, oh, we have done this, then we're going to start something else. So it doesn't matter where the sources of funding of this project is concerned. The question is, when did they start? Why have they not been able to complete as of now? It's a matter of prioritizing your resources and attaching them to the needs of the people. And this, for me, is a great need for the case in Odododiodoo.
Now, before I let you go, you've been there before in this position for you to decide how the revenues or resources of the assembly will be used for. Why are you mostly not able to say, we have started this project, we want to complete it before we move on? Is it something that we don't know?
Well, it all depends on the manager. It depends on the managers and what their priorities are and where they want to allocate their resources. I can't find myself starting a project, abandoning it midway, and go to start another project, no matter what the case might be. I can't.
Okay.
And I can say, in all humility, for the 8 years that I was with ECE for Ahanta West, there was no project that was uncompleted by the time I left office. There was none.
Okay.
Any project that I began, I made sure that I completed before I left office.
Okay.
So you don't start projects, around you where you cannot, for whatever reason, you could be financing, you could be other considerations, and get the project abandoned midstream. So we need to prioritize. We don't have money. We always complain. But if we don't have money, then don't push money into projects that you cannot complete.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Thank you very much, Mr. Bani. I'm grateful to you for your time.